Today we are going to learn how can you use rounding to estimate. Let's look at our question. The workers picked 50 dozen apples at Miss Piper's apple grove and 37 dozen apples at Mr. Stort's apple grove. There are 12 apples in 1 dozen. About how many apples did the workers pick? Let's start by underlining the question. We want to know about how many apples did the workers pick. Since it is using the word about, I know I do not have to do the complete computation. It just wants me to use an estimation by rounding the numbers. Also, this is a two-step problem because the worker picked 50 dozen apples at Mrs. Piper's apple grove and 37 dozen apples at Mr. Stort's apple grove. We want to know how many they picked all together. So first, we need to add to find out how many dozen apples were picked. If we add 50 plus 37, we get 87 dozen apples. Now remember, there are 12 apples in a dozen. So next, we are going to use rounding to estimate 87 times 12. If I am going to estimate 87 times 12, I'm going to round 87 to the nearest tens place. Underline your tens digit, look to the right. If the digit is 5 or more, then the digit will go up. Since the digit is a 7, I'm going to round 87 to 90. Then I'm going to round the 12. Underline the number in the tens place. Since 2 is less than 5, 12 would be rounded to 10. And 90 times 10, we're going to underline the basic fact. So 9 times 1 is 9. And then add 2 zeros. So the workers picked about 900 apples. Let's do the guided practice together. Number 1. Sorry, that was my dog ringing the bell to go outside. Number 1. In the example on the previous page, how do you know you only need an estimate and not an exact answer? Well, when we talked about the problem on the previous page, the word about. If the problem has the word about in it, we know we have to use estimation by rounding. We do not actually have to compute the problem. Let's look at number 2. It says, Howie used rounding to estimate the product of 35 times 42 and got 1,200. We want to find out what did he do wrong. So I'm going to write the problem 35 times 42. Let's underline the digit that we're rounding. We're rounding to the nearest tens place. So underline the 3 in 35 and the 4 in 42. Look to the right of the underlined digit. If it's 5 or more, it's going to push the underlined digit up 1 more. Well, we have a 5. So the 3 is going to turn into a 4. And then on 42, if we look to the right, it's less than 5, so it's going to rest. It's going to stay a 4. And 40 times 40 is 1,600. Underline your basic fact if you're confused. 4 times 4 is 16, then add on those 2 zeros. So if it's asking what he did wrong, he did not round the 35 up to 40. He kept it as a 30 because 30 times 40 is 1,200. Number 3, we're going to estimate each product. 24 is going to round to 20, and 18 is also going to round to 20 because the 8 is going to push the 1 up. And 2 times 2 is 4, and then add your 2 zeros. So 20 times 20 is 400. And number 4, 33 rounds to 30, and 31 also rounds to 30. Underline your basic fact. 3 times 3 is 9, so the answer is 900. I'm going to write numbers 4 and 5 below so you can see them more easy. Number 5, we have 38 times 22. Underline the digit in your tens place, so I'm going to underline the 3 and the 2. Look to your right. The 8 is going to push the 3 up to a 4, so this is going to turn to 40, times the 2 is going to make the other 2 rest, times 20, and 4 times 2 is 8, and then add your 2 zeros. All right, let's do number 6. Number 6, we have 45 times 48. Underline the digits in your tens place. Look to your right. This 5 is going to push this 4 up to a 5, so we have 50 times, the 8 is also going to push the 4 up to a 5, times 50. Underline your basic fact. 5 times 5 is 25, and then add your 2 zeros. Estimating is easy if you use the rules of rounding. Remember, always underline the digit that you're rounding, then look to the right. If the digit is 5 or more, then the underlying digit goes up by 1. If the digit is less than 5, then the underlying digit stays the same. Please finish all of the numbers on page 185 and also all of the numbers on page 186. On page 186, if you are having trouble, make sure you underline the question, circle what you know. You can skip it and go on to the next one. If you are still having trouble after you have tried all the problems, you may come bring it to me.